Good morning. Oops, sorry. So it's the next day now. As you can see, yesterday I was going to go to the Munama Falls. I was exhausted after the whole trip yesterday, but now I'm rested and ready to go to the coast and spend the whole day there. So let's go. Alright, so I made it to Cannon Beach, but it's raining quite a bit. This is something I was not expecting because according to my weather app, it's not supposed to be raining right now, but it is. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna keep driving farther south to two places that I was thinking about going, but I was not sure. But since I have this weather here, I'm gonna drive to Garibaldi and Manzanita and probably take a few photos there if I can, and then come back here to Cannon Beach. I'm gonna stop trying to avoid the rain because I'm not very good at it, and it looks like I'm chasing the rain, if anything. So yeah, it's funny how it works because it was a couple weeks ago where when I was in Michigan City and it was raining like right now, but I waited in the car for like half an hour, 45 minutes until the conditions improved, and then I got this beautiful fog and beautiful conditions to shoot in. And I was thinking that the only reason why I did that, the only reason why I waited in the car is because I didn't have anywhere else to go. And this is not the case here. There are literally like hundreds of viewpoints and trails everywhere. And I think that's something that I failed at many times in the past, and I'm failing today again because I don't learn, it looks like. Instead of just waiting here at a place and fighting for that shot or that photo that I want, I just keep moving because I wanna take photos even if it is in other place. But yeah, the amount of places where you can go to and take photos here in Oregon and Washington, I mean everywhere around here, is just overwhelming, and in some way that's not a good thing. And I think that my time in the Midwest kind of improved my photography in that way, that I'm more patient, even though that's not what I'm showing today. This is the opposite. So but yeah, I think that I learned that lesson though, that is just focus on one thing at a time, and yeah, just go for it and quit trying to chase the conditions. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Okay, so I'm back at Cannon Beach. I don't think there is any escape in the rain today, so I'm just gonna get ready as much as I can. I'm gonna bring my Holga in one pocket. I'm gonna cover the Bronica with a plastic bag so it doesn't get wet. I'm gonna leave this digital camera again in the car. I'm gonna record with my iPhone. And we'll see. If it doesn't really rain for a while, I might take a long exposure. That was my idea today, a long exposure of the rock. But if not, I'll be taking photos with the Holga at the very least. So let's go now that it looks like we kind of have a break. Well, so as soon as set foot on the beach, it started raining really hard. So yeah, I'm all wet. My cameras are wet. I took 2 or 3 pictures with the Holga, but that was about it. I had to run away. It's raining so much. So it's 11 a.m. I think I'm just gonna drive to Astoria and grab some lunch and hope that this improves later today, because if not, there's not much photography to be done with this weather. Okay, so it looks like the rain is gonna give us a break after all. And I wanted to show you what I'm doing now. I'm taking this shot of the ripples on the sand, but let me explain how I'm doing it. As you can see, I'm using the orange filter, but I'm not using the orange filter to give it more contrast. I mean also, but I'm using it to be able to, so I'm able to shoot at a wider aperture, in this case f4. That is the widest aperture of this lens instead of f8. And that allows me to have a much narrower depth of field. And why I'm doing this is because most of the people who shoot these kind of scenes, like patterns on the sand or something like that, they usually focus stack the photos, so everything is in focus, or they use like a super absurd large aperture or small aperture, in this case f22, f32, f64, I don't know, whatever, so everything is in focus. So what I'm trying here is to get as less in focus as possible, because I want to do it in a different way, and also because I think it looks better when you tell, not when you tell, but when you show what caught your eye in focus. Well, everything else is like more of a mystery, and more it leads to there. Actually, I'm gonna focus on different parts of the sand. I'm gonna use different apertures too. I'm gonna try to get as much as possible in focus too, so we can sit down and look at the photos and see what the difference is between them. Alright, so these images didn't really work the way I thought they would. I don't really like them, but I think that they are still good examples of what I was trying to achieve. So this is the first one. I was focusing on the top of the frame. I shot it at f4. This wide aperture blurs all the bottom of the frame, as you can see. This is an effect that I've used before, but it doesn't really work here. It's very confusing and hard to find the main subject of the image. This next example is a little bit better. It's the same composition. I was still focusing on the top of the frame, but this time it was shot at f8, so the bottom of the frame is less blurred than before. As I said, a little bit better, but it still doesn't really work. It's very confusing and very hard to see the main subject of this photo. Here, just for comparison, both photos on the left shot at f4, on the right shot at f8. You can see clearly the difference in the out of focus areas, and how neither of them really work here. Now we have the same composition, but instead of focusing on top of the frame, I was focusing on the middle bottom part of the frame. This was shot at f4, so you can see that in the very bottom of the frame and very top of the frame, that it's still completely out of focus. I believe, in my opinion, that this one works much better. I think it's the best of them all because not only the exposure is better, it's brighter in the center, leading the eye to that part, but also the blur helps a lot. It's much easier for the viewer to recognize or to see the main subject of the photo that is in the middle because both the top and the bottom of the frame are out of focus. So same shot, focusing still in the middle bottom part of the frame. This time this one was shot at f8. You can see that the exposure changed from the previous one. The sides of the photo are brighter. I'm not really sure why. The post-processing on all these photos is the same, but this one belongs to a new roll, to a different roll than the previous 3 shots. So that might be the reason, I guess. So the middle of the photo not being as bright as in the previous shot, that doesn't help. But also you can see that the blur doesn't really work as a way to lead the eye to the center. That is where the ripples are in focus. I hope you can see that better here in the comparison between the 2 shots, f4 on the left, f8 on the right. Try to look beyond the difference in the exposure and see how the blur helps on the left image to lead you or to guide the viewer to the middle of the image. Lastly, this shot that it was focusing on the middle bottom part of the frame as the previous 2 ones, but this time was shot at f32, so most of it is in focus. And this was the point that I was trying to make here. In this case, since the photo doesn't really have a main subject and everything is in focus, it's really, really hard. I mean, you get lost in this photo because you don't know where to look at. It might work for some cases, but in this case, as I said, where there is no main subject or main thing to look at, I think that the blurring some parts of the frame using wider apertures is a very useful technique to make viewers look at where you want them to look at. Oh my, look at that. Oh. So you see that it's a car in the water. How the hell do you end up there? Look at this place. Nothing there, nothing there. No, there are no roads. Jeez. Here I try to capture this boat moving through my frame like I did on this other image from a few years ago, but it didn't really work this time. The exposure was of about 50 seconds, which was perfect since it was the time that took the boat to appear and disappear from the frame, but it was moving too fast for the boat to show up. It was in bulb mode. So it's 4:15 p.m. I just realized that the Holga was in bulb mode. So I've taken 4 rolls with that camera so far on this trip. I have no idea how many shots are going to turn out. So Stupid. Well, hopefully I got half of them at least. I don't know. Anyway, I think that this would be a good moment to call this a day. I've been taking photos for 9 hours now, so I'm heading back. Oh man. I have to tape that switch. I have to tape it.